I couldn't find out what they used for cum in the film, and that makes me sad.
I mean, if it was, it seems like they could have just used the real thing.
Was the budget not high enough to add
Yeah,
in the prop?
it was the first movie he ever shot on 35, so I'm sure he was just out of money.
Just give me a minute.
Yeah,
Just give me a minute.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even just a little bit can go a long way.
Don't I know it?
Well, hello there. Welcome to On the Beat, the podcast that uncovers full frontal male nudity in cinema. My name is Laura, and I am joined by my co-host Ryan.
Hello.
And our very special guest, not for the first time, not for the last, I hope, unless this goes really poorly, is our friend Josh Martin.
I am pretty special.
Yeah.
I feel special.
I mean,
Good. We strive for that.
How badly would it have to go short of him dying before he doesn't come back?
We have the next
how bad
hour
would it have to be?
to figure that out.
Right.
Yeah.
What is the end of the
If
line?
I start turning you down, not enough semen. Sorry, the title you're bringing me. I have a certain amount of semen that I need in every movie to discuss it academically.
I mean, to be fair, if that's what the issue is, then I'm pretty sure we can find some sort of accommodation for it.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll just...
I think we found it today.
Oh, hell yeah.
For the film we're talking about, which is the 1995 dark comedy thriller, The Doom Generation, directed by Gregg Araki. Is it The Doom Generation or Doom Generation? Because I've seen it both ways.
The Doom
The
Generation.
Doom Generation.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Great. I've got it down.
Yes.
And this is going to be an uncomfortable brunch film, which I'm...
But file it under D for
Frickin-
Doom, obviously.
Well, yeah, because you have to put Doom Generation, comma, the.
Yeah, you worked in the video store. You fucking know.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know how to alphabetize properly.
Did you have Doom Generation at your video store?
I never
Probably
saw
not.
it there, no.
If you did, it would probably have been a real butchered version.
Yeah. I'm excited to talk about that, too, because I know you've got notes on it. I also made some notes on
Yeah.
how much of a travesty it was.
How they
Thanks, Blockbuster.
midnight meat trained this motion picture.
Did they do that to that film?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
I don't know anybody that loves Midnight Meat Train, but I don't know anybody that hates it.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty great. I like it. But
it's great, yeah.
I have a soft spot for anything, even tangentially Clive Barker, I kind of get a kick out of.
I've watched it at least 4 times over the last 2 years.
That's
feel like
way too much.
You kept watching it.
way
I
too
think
much.
we discussed this on the last episode as well, because you kept watching Midnight Meat Train, and I really wanted to watch it, so I watched it immediately after.
You showed little to no interest in ever watching it, so
That
I
is
ended
so
up
untrue.
I ended up watching it just on my
Then
own.
Ted Raimi showed up, and I screamed.
It's a great title.
I
That
know.
title is
I know.
amazing.
He's painting me in a wrong portrait here. Like,
am I now?
Yes. I don't want anyone in the world to think that I don't want to watch Midnight Meat Train, because I do. 100%. All right? But we're not talking about Midnight Meat Train.
Let it be public record. I do want to watch Midnight Meat Train, and I will watch Midnight
will.
Meat Train.
I'll
and
still
I
watch it.
have watched
I'll
Midnight
watch it
Meat
again.
Train.
Also, you got to respect any movie that its title works as a straight movie as well as a porn parody.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, no changes, no notes. It's perfect.
That film will be on my shit list for how many times. Like, bodies are hung up on that train with hands covering dicks.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's impossible for that to actually happen without having rope tied around their middle. Anyway, that really pissed me off.
But speaking of how that film potentially missed the mark, as it were, we're now going to talk about the Doom Generation. And we're doing something slightly different. You might be wondering, there's not a dick in the Doom Generation. What the fuck's wrong with you? Why are you saying this? Well, really, what you've downloaded, accidentally or not, is effectively our pilot episode for a new format that we're looking to try out at some point. For monetary value at some time.
Hopefully.
But yes, we have aptly named this. I think this is very clever. I'm going to say the name in a second, but I think this is very clever. This means, and this also coupled with another format change that we also have, means that we could probably do any film that has ever existed in the history of time. So
We're so smart.
we've now given ourselves at least a level of longevity, or at least a period of time where we can just gradually irritate you with our conversations for the next, I don't know, 400 years.
Hooray!
But yes, we have aptly named this segment Mr. Beat.
Where is it?
Uh-oh.
Are you kidding me? Come on. Misogyny. Inconceivable.
Something but balls, a bulge or a butt. That's when you know you probably fucked up.
Mr. Beat.
I wonder who came up with that.
You did.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you did.
Yes, I did.
Yes, and you've come up with some of the slightly more, I mean, I say this in inverted commas, clever, clever titles for some of these things.
I thought that was incredibly smart because what I wanted to do is talk about films that have things such as boobs, butts, and balls,
Yes.
but then completely shy away from putting an actual like full frontal male nudity in their films. This movie in particular has all of the boobs, butts, and balls.
This film effectively has everything you would ever want in a motion picture. It has sex, violence, Nazis, and Rose McGowan. So really, it is only missing. It is only
true.
really missing one thing, and that is the male factor.
Which is interesting as we go along in the film, considering the last few minutes of this film, the fact that it doesn't have any full frontal male nudity is interesting.
And I guess that's
It's an interesting choice, which we are going to figure out.
I guess it's that will be the kind of overarching interest that's going to be through this format, is that you're going to get a lot of what you've expected from us over the last 50-something episodes, but I guess the perspective will be more on why was that choice made. I'd say another very good candidate for this, but there isn't obviously any argument, is that it was eventually kind of shown, was the Voyeurs probably was another strong candidate for this format, but they do show some nudity in some degree, even though it's a bit of a cop-out. But we certainly kind of explain why we feel that way with that particular episode. But this, we kind of feel like with the content therein, that certainly the film could have gone a little bit further. But then maybe we wonder, why didn't it go further? And I guess we'll kind of go into that as we get into the film itself.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about this because there are quite a few movies out there that show things such as that, you know, boobs, butts, and balls. And you go, I wonder why.
But I guess
Doesn't mean I don't love this film.
Yeah, I will also kind of preface this with the fact that this is not like an overarching critique. This isn't a negative thing. This shouldn't be seen as like a bad thing. We're not picking a movie that decides that they're not doing this for purely negative reasons. There has to be reasoning behind it. So really, we kind of look at it in certain number of ways. So like, really, does the film go far enough? Is there a reason why the inclusion of nudity is what it is overall, and why is this left out when there's so much of this? So certainly, we talk about, rating these films, and we talk about, honesty and imbalance, and we'll figure that out near towards the end.
I mean, I think it'd be really funny if your whole thesis of this episode is Doom Generation doesn't go far enough. That would be really funny to me.
That really says something about us as
It does.
as individuals, I would have felt like. But that, I feel like that's why I think the at least the birthing of this kind of type of episode that we're doing, I think the Doom Generation is probably one of the most interesting candidates for it. Because it does kind of have an inclusion of pretty much everything that you would, I mean, not so much to kind of accept like it's like say taboo subjects, but there's a lot of wild shit that happens in this movie. So you do kind of wonder, is it a real kind of conscious decision to exclude that form of nudity from this when there's really everything else on show here? So
Yeah.
but
Definitely.
yeah, like I say, I think that's kind of where we're sitting at this and kind of where we're taking this. And yeah, let's go right ahead and get started.
So this film has our three main stars, which we already mentioned, Rose McGowan, James Duval, and Jonathan, help me with that last name, Sage?
You asking me?
I don't know
I
anyone.
believe that's how it's pronounced.
I don't know. I don't know why you would ask me. I've been fucking butchering people's names since we started this fucking podcast. So.
And I didn't realize until we mentioned it after we watched the film the other day, Ryan.
Oh, that is a mouthful. How the fuck?
State.
Really?
That's what I thought it was.
SCHAECH.
Yeah.
Skish. No.
Shaish.
Oh, God.
Shaish. Nope.
Shkishkesh?
Skish. No.
Jonathan Shkishkeshki?
No. Yeah.
Jimmy from That Thing You Do.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
you go.
right.
That'll do.
Yeah, but their character names are Amy Blue, Jordan White, and Xavier Red.
Red, white, and blue,
Yeah,
yeah.
I didn't even notice that until you
Didn't notice it
mentioned
until we saw it in the credits. Yeah, that's a nice little
It's
nod.
kind of wild that all three of them. I mean, this was right before all of them had like pretty mainstream success.
Yeah.
Because '96 was Independence Day,
Yeah.
Scream,
Right.
and That Thing You Do, which were all huge box office successes.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Look at them.
Yeah, I
Look
remember
at those cutie pies.
remember James Duvall more from Gone in 60 Seconds, or at least I
that was
remember him.
yeah,
from
and
that,
Donnie
yeah.
Darko. Those were both in 2000, right?
Yeah.
But he's barely in Donnie Darko.
Yeah.
For the most
Sure,
part.
certainly.
But I remember him a lot.
But you remember him from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely in that movie. And obviously obviously Rose McGowan.
Yeah.
Oh,
Isn't she isn't she in Charmed? Wasn't she one of the ones in Charmed?
Yeah,
No.
I think so. Yeah. It's
Maybe.
her and
Right.
I feel
Alyssa
like you looked at
Milano
me.
and
I've never seen Charmed.
Well, it was something.
I'm pretty certain that she was in it. I don't think that she started on it. I think she came in
Jawbreaker.
after a few seasons. I could be wrong about that. Yes, Jawbreaker as well.
Well, she's in Scream, Death Proof, Planet Terror, kind of probably more notably. She was the bomb in Phantom, Joe. Yeah, she was in
Oh,
that.
Phantoms.
Yeah, she
that
was in
was
Phantoms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, well, she's had a relatively quite troubled career, Rose McGowan, unfortunately. But yes.
I hope that she's doing well. The synopsis from this movie that I grabbed from Letterboxd is Jordan White and Amy Blue, two troubled teens, pick up an adolescent drifter, Xavier Red. Together, the threesome embark on a sex and violence-filled journey through a United States of psychos and quickie marts. And the tagline is, sex, violence, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeesh. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever is kind of like a
I mean, it's
Gregg Araki staple.
yeah.
really.
It's. I mean, if there's anybody who represents Gen X cinema, Gregg Araki is one of the first people that comes to mind for me.
It's got big fuck you 90s energy about
Yeah,
it.
I mean, even more so than Richard Linklater, I would think. Even
Yeah.
though
Yeah.
those Slacker and Dazed and Confused fall into that, I think that there's something. I don't know. Gregg Araki's stuff he's like almost like Jim Jarmusch, like that kind
Yeah.
of voice of a very particular generation. I would say.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that Slacker's like the safe poster boy
Yeah.
of that generation.
And I'm not
Like,
being pejorative towards any of Linklater's stuff. I think that his movies are great. But I think that there's something about this Gregg Araki movies.
Slacker is like the safer choice because you don't know what you're getting. Well, you kind of do know what you're getting into with a Gregg Araki movie, but
Yeah. Although his stuff has been a really kind of a roller coaster too, if you look at his filmography, because there's something like Mysterious Skin, which is a gut punch, but then he made like Smiley Face, that's just a stoner comedy.
Yeah.
So interesting dude for sure.
He has range, but I guess like a lot of that comes from his love for John Waters, who's also had a kind of career very kind of similar to that. Where you have something like Pink Flamingos, and then you have something else like Serial Mom,
Right.
which is kind of more in that vein.
Yeah,
so.
which this is what I think that this is his third or fourth feature. Doom Generation is. It was the first thing to be shot on 35. His early stuff, especially, really, really feels like Jim Jarmusch to me. I'm trying to think, what is the title of that?
Depends on I've got the whole list here.
Three Bewildered People in the Night.
Yes.
I mean, what a pretentious title. I love it. Fucking eat that shit up.
Yeah.
I mean, he made a movie called Totally Fucked Up. That's like, if that's not a fuck you to the system, that's kind of his deal.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, there's also other kind of, I wouldn't say it's like pretend. Well, I mean, White Bird and a Blizzard is certainly one of those as well.
Yeah, that's a weird murder mystery.
Yeah.
I like it, but it's... I mean, honestly, Smiley Face is the only movie of his that I'm not a big fan of, just because I don't think stoner comedies are inherently all that funny, and I don't really like Anna Faris very much.
Harold and Kumar? No?
What about Harold and Kumar?
I don't know, stoner comedies?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I don't like any stoner comedies.
Half-Baked.
But
really
I don't
cool
like Half-Baked. I don't think Half-Baked is funny. I think that...
I like it when the dog gets high and then he's flying.
I mean, I think Bob Saget's funny in it. But I don't know.
You ever suck dick for weed?
Yeah, you ever suck dick for weed? That's funny. You know what? It's not some like Dave Chappelle backlash, blah blah blah. Dave Chappelle is obviously very very funny.
Yeah.
You know who's not to me though is Jim Brewer. I do not think he's funny. I've never thought he was funny. Get the fuck out of here with that goat boy shit from SNL. I have no patience. Like I just do not think he's funny. And there's a lot of him in that fucking movie.
Oh boy. Anyway, we went on a tangent.
Yeah, sorry
anyway,
about that.
Let's go. Well, no, don't apologize.
Please apologize. I don't need anyone talking shit about Half-Baked in this
Don't
house.
you fucking dare apologize. Let's talk about Gregg Araki. So, Gregg Araki is an American filmmaker. He has a heavy involvement in the new queer cinema movement, what they refer to as the queer new wave, and that phrase was coined back in Sight and Sound in 1992. This was kind of made more prominent with Kaboom, which was the first winner of the Queer Palm at Cannes. And he's worked predominantly in film and also in TV since the late 80s. And I'm just going to kind of go into his filmography just now. So, as we mentioned earlier, Three Bewildered People in the Night came out in 87. The Long Weekend, brackets Oh Despair, in 1989. The Living End in 1992. Now, what we get into now is what he's coined as his teen apocalypse trilogy, and Doom Generation is the middle film in this trilogy. And it starts off with Totally Fucked Up in 93, obviously the Doom Generation in 95, Nowhere in 1997. So we continue that on with Splendor in 99, Mysterious Skin in 2004, Smiley Face, as we mentioned, in 2007, Kaboom, like I mentioned, in 2010, and then finally White Bird and the Blizzard in 2014. And he's worked in TV since around about 2000s. Probably most prominently, he made a pilot called This Is How the World Ends, and he's also directed episodes, obviously, of Dahmer, American Gigolo, and also the TV screen adaptation of Heathers. And
I learned about that today.
We did learn about that today.
And
that they
American
made
Gigolo.
a fucking TV show out of Heathers.
Well, they made a TV show out of American Gigolo. They tried to make a TV show out of Fatal Attraction. It makes me sick.
I mean, Fatal Attraction's terrible.
That show
fucking
is
show is
nugget.
awful. Yeah, it's crap.
And it's got that chick that I love in it.
But
Lizzie
he does
Kaplan.
he does have a new
like
show.
her.
She's great.
She's Glenn Close?
Yeah.
Weird.
It's
It's
not
good.
it's not the same though. It's not the same. Like, you can say she's the Glenn Close, but she's a completely different character.
And it's
like,
fine
she
making it
behaves
different.
completely
Yeah, sure.
differently.
Make it different, but call it something different. I don't
Yeah.
know about American Gigolo. Like, it's interesting that Gregg Araki's directed an episode of it, which makes me slightly more interested in watching it. And I love John Bernthal. You know he's not taking his dick out. Let me just stick to the point of what this podcast is all about.
Yeah.
He's not taking it out.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the original so beautiful.
As much as, I mean, he's also got, there's another show that he's done as well called, I think it's Now Apocalypse, that's out on either, I think is it Stars or it's on Paramount, I'm not too sure.
I think it's Stars, but I could be wrong.
But there is a thing about, I think some of the stuff he did for Dahmer is good. I think it's interesting. I just have a problem with that show just overall, being a little too sympathetic to Jeffrey Dahmer.
Did you watch that show?
I did
Josh?
not.
Me either.
Yeah, it's rough.
I mean, Ryan, you started watching it when I had COVID. And I would
watched
come
the
out
whole
and you were
thing.
just like cocooned just watching Dahmer.
I was watching
3 days.
I was watching Dahmer, and then I stopped watching Dahmer. Then I got COVID. Then I finished watching Dahmer, and I was like, I was a little bewildered by it, and I don't know if because he's not the only director on that show. There's a few directors on that show, but there's gay elements obviously in the Jeffrey Dahmer story.
Yeah.
But the thing is like, by the time you get to the end of it, you're feeling a little sympathetic to Jeffrey Dahmer. And I kind of feel like maybe people did their jobs a little too well, because I don't think you should be sympathetic to Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
Just a little.
He was just...
Yeah, I'm like...
I
was like, he was eating
You guys,
people.
we need to be sympathetic. He was just really hungry.
Look, he had someone's head in his fridge. He kept their bones in his apartment. It stunk.
I mean, it sounds bad when you put it like that. But
yeah.
I mean...
He's just like...
Maybe he just has different taste and style.
I mean... I get it.
Yeah, I just didn't like
it,
that.
But I get it.
Yeah.
I didn't like that angle. The whole thing, I didn't really like the angle. But I think everyone does a good job in it. I feel like it's incredibly ill-conceived.
I mean, if you were to fine-tooth comb my life, you'd probably find some things you'd find offensive. So
I don't think we need a fine-tooth comb for that, Josh.
I mean, what, is Netflix going to make a series out of it and call it The Monster? Like, is that
The Monster in Me?
Josh Martin, The Monster.
I mean, depends who you ask.
Wow. Okay. I mean, we were talking about what could it be that will never invite him back, and I mean, it's happening strangely. It's weird. But anyway,
I'm wondering, Josh, if you have more information than I do about the different versions of this film, because this film is coming out this year in a 4K restoration, which is finally the cut we all deserve.
Definitive. Yeah, it's the best version that's been released since the 35 print that premiered at Sundance in 1995.
Right.
I'm actually not 100%, and I'm curious to see that maybe this recording that we're doing right now might not be, it might be moot by the time we see it theatrically, because the uncut version is 83 minutes long.
Yeah.
I don't know what version you guys watched.
It was that long.
Was it? Okay,
yeah.
Because I have an uncut DVD that is 81 minutes long.
Ooh.
Interesting.
So it claims that it's uncut, director's cut, the whole deal, but it's definitely not 83 minutes.
I think ours is, it was 83.
It was 83 minutes, yeah.
Because I know that the R-rated version that got released in the 90s is 11 minutes shorter. That's crazy. A lot. And Gregg Araki went on he is very open, saying, I'd rather someone not watch my movie than watch it that way.
Yeah.
Which is why he ended up partnering up with Strand, and when they... he had a relationship. He has a relationship with them anyway, because they put out Mysterious Skin. So it makes sense. And actually, they're doing a restoration of Nowhere as well right now.
Oh, cool.
So I think that they're going to be going through his older movies and doing a nice job cleaning them up. So I'm interested to see then what that's going to mean.
His filmography is not super extensive. It probably deserves a box set, because at least
that'd be rad.
at least with Kaboom and Mysterious Skin and obviously the Apocalypse trilogy. I would just bundle in a bunch of those 80s ones in there as well, so people get a chance to see them, because I just don't think they're they just won't be as widely seen.
Yeah, I mean, a lot like the Three Bewildered, that I think was only released on VHS. I don't know if that even. I mean, I might be speaking out of turn. I don't know if it's true that it's not on DVD, but I've never seen it on DVD. I have a bootleg copy.
Yeah.
That is sourced from a VHS copy. It's technically on Blu-ray, but
yeah,
it's not. It's a VHS rip.
Yeah, I mean, there's just I can't see why a filmographer a filmmaker of his caliber can't have a box set of stuff, because it's relatively quite small.
I'm curious to know. I'm willing to bet Strand will do something like that, at the very least. Box set of this trilogy.
Yeah,
that would be good.
Yeah, I think an entire box set of all of his films could be. I mean, if it was $120, I think it's worth that money. Really,
I'm excited to see the new like 4K restoration of it because Gregg Araki said that the new cut is like the only difference in it is mainly the last bit of the movie, you know, where that intensity of that last scene is just like a little bit longer. Right. So like that's where you get like a slightly shorter version, and then the uncut version it's a little bit longer. But yeah, then there was like that original VHS version when it came out through video stores he said it was under an hour. Wow. That they cut out like
it's crazy.
It was under an hour long. And he was like, this is
at that point it feels like you just don't bother releasing the movie then if it's going to be gutted the way it is. Well, that's what's weird too is because Samuel Goldwyn was who had the rights to it originally, and then they had issues with the content. So they dropped it, and Trimark ended up picking it up. So it went through this process. So I don't know what these distributors. I mean, the '90s were just different for that sort of thing too. Yeah. They were, you know. I have always been on record as to saying how much disdain I have for streaming services, but this is something that probably has been a benefit in the last 20 years. Is that now filmmakers are able to put out the movies that they intended to make because content issues just aren't the same as they were 20 years ago. Certainly not 30 years ago. So
it's true. It's kind of a weird mixed bag as well because there's a lot of things that I want to see in the cinema. But then it won't get released in the cinema just for that reason, and then you end up seeing it on the streaming services, which I think is beneficial and a detriment in a weird way.
Yeah. Infinity Pool's probably a more recent example of there's a definite director's cut out there, but the cut that we saw
was definitely
not
but
that cut.
It still pisses me off that they still made a fake dick for that movie, and then they didn't show it. Whatever. Nonsense.
I mean, yeah. Either way. I mean, the '90s. At least the independent film movement of the '90s. I mean, you were as a filmmaker, you were getting into bed with various kind of nefarious sources. Certainly, the Miramax and Weinstein's, I would see as a prime example of that time, where they were the hatchet job makers of. They they put a lot of films out there that won a bunch of awards, but at the detriment to very much filmmakers' vision. And that's very well documented.
You go back and watch those Oscar bait movies that Miramax put out, and I liked all that stuff when I was younger, but man, it's really trite. Like, I went back and watched Shakespeare in Love. And and I love some saccharine bullshit, but that movie is stupid. Like, especially when you think that it was up against Thin Red Line that year, and Saving Private Ryan, which, I mean, Saving Private Ryan has its issues, but no.
It's there's some tight competition there. I mean, one of the it's probably because I like the film a lot, but I think James Mangold's Copland.
I like Copland a lot.
The theatrical cut of that film is such a major detriment to what the director's cut of that film is as well. Like, where the ending's completely different and it doesn't make any sense, and you're just kind of left feeling incredibly soured and empty by the end of it.
I feel like it down the road, James Mangold's going to be the studio director that we end up talking about because. Talk about I mean, I know we're not talking about James Mangold, but fucking weird. The movies that guy's made. Some really great stuff and some really bad stuff. Like Kate and Leopold and Logan. That's fucking weird.
Oh, that is weird.
And then it's Identity.
Identity is another one. I really like that movie.
Identity's really cool.
He's like Mark Forrester almost. Like, he very much is a director for hire that is very, very good when he has good material and really not when he doesn't. It's very strange.
Wow. When we watched, we were in Tampa this weekend. We got to watch at least the second half of the Wolverine movie that he made, where obviously Logan goes to Japan and he's slowly dying.
Yes,
which is great. I mean, it's got the silver samurai in it, and it looks fucking shit.
Yeah,
but Doom Generation, guys.
Yeah. It's funny watching it. Because I was rewatching Doom Generation last night. I've seen it quite a few times over the years. That was something I watched a lot when I was in high school. But it struck me as like, oh, this is as if I liked Natural Born Killers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's a good version of that. Which I know it's easy to shit on Oliver Stone and whatever, and Quentin Tarantino, but I don't know. Natural Born Killers, I think, is just too scattershot. The satire doesn't really make sense. Sometimes it does. Yeah. When it lands, it's really good. But this, I think, it works much better. You know what they're trying to say.
The satire is just a little bit more, I guess, I wouldn't say like relatable, but the satire you understand it's just, I think it's a little smarter.
Yeah.
The satire in Doom
Generation.
I
would argue that the majority of Doom Generation is not meant just to shock.
No.
Even though it's shocking. But, and it's funny, Gregg Araki has gone, he's talked about it. He said he was like going back and rewatching it now that there's this new restoration. He's like, Jesus, I was so fucking angry back then.
Yeah.
He's like, I was just this angry punk kid, which he wasn't a kid, he was like 38, but 37, but still. Yeah.
I mean, certainly, I mean, if going, not judging, obviously, like how, his life or anything like that, but like he's certainly lived a life that's seen him become very angry at certain things in his society,
right?
Purely because he's a gay man in America. Yeah. And that's something I feel like kind of speaks quite prominently in these films. Yeah. But I mean, do you guys know what the first line of the movie is?
Fuck.
Yeah, fuck. Just fuck. It's fuck all, So I love the fact that this film is as angry as it is, because it is just it reminds me of what I was like. I mean, I guess we're all 90s kids, right? The 90s is our generation predominantly when we were growing up and living in the world and things like that. So
yeah, but not in the way that we got to experience this type of thing. A little too young.
No, that doesn't really come until the 2000s for us.
Yeah.
We're kind of still relatively quite naive in the 90s, but...
Yeah.
But this is all very, like, the feeling is incredibly familiar.
It's really strange to me to think that how many of these movies from the 90s that were wildly age inappropriate for me really did shape my personality in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like, I think about... those early Kevin Smith movies, which I, can now look at, and I'm a little more open to criticize, but, I thought Chasing Amy was end all be all when I was 12, 13. It's fucking weird. I remember my father actually coming across I owned a copy of Chasing Amy on VHS, and all these movies were what I was watching at the time. And he just sort of laughed and shook his head. He's like, just because you watch it doesn't mean you understand it. And like, what a fucking mean thing to say to me, but he was right.
But that's also just really sweet. Did I ever tell the story on this podcast about my Chasing Amy experience with my father? When we moved to Florida has movies for rent in the library, and I was thrilled. They didn't have that when I was growing up in Oklahoma at the library.
Oh, okay.
So
the only things they had in the library there was probably the Bible.
Yeah.
So,
just different versions.
So
I rented it from the library and watched it, and I liked it. I didn't really think much about it. I just liked the movie because I'd seen Mallrats and everything at that point. And I was pretty young. I was maybe like 14, I think, when I saw it. And he would bring movies into his work when they were slow, and him and his friends would watch movies. And he goes, "Hey, did you get anything good from the video store or whatever?" And I'm like, "Oh, I got this one. It's pretty funny." And he's like, "Okay, cool." And he brought it into his work, and he watched it with all of his work pals.
Excellent.
And he came home madder than I've seen most of my life. And he barred me from renting movies, which was basically like death to me.
Yeah.
I cried nonstop. But he's like, "This, you gave me this gay shit, and I watched it with my friends.
Awesome.
This is a gay
fucking
movie." And
terrible.
I was like, "What?" I'm like, I couldn't even comprehend like what the issue was. Like, what's
So it wasn't the sexual content, it wasn't the dialogue, it was just that it was gay shit.
Gay shit. My dad was pissed.
Huh.
And I just couldn't comprehend. I'm like, I don't know why you're so mad. It was funny. Like, it was a funny movie. I don't know. So
I mean, I'm just saying it's clear that my father's a little more nuanced than yours.
Oh,
because he very much was just like, these are some pretty heavy subjects regarding sexuality that I don't think a 13-year-old has the emotional capacity to fully understand.
My dad,
you know what? He was right.
Gay shit. Get that gay shit out of my face.
That gay shit, you can't rent movies. You can't rent here anymore. No, I love my dad, but we have different opinions, and we have discussed them, and we will keep it at that.
Okay, that's
He's
fair.
just that kind of man. This film also, which I really, really, really love, has the title card of a heterosexual movie by Gregg Araki, which I guess is a trend of his. This is the first movie I've seen of his.
Oh, really? So do you know why it says a heterosexual film?
Tell me.
His previous films have said a homosexual film by Gregg Araki, and he had a financier that was willing to put up the money for the film, and it wasn't I don't want you to have gay content. He was just like, tone it down a little bit so that we can have it be in the mainstream market, to be able to sell this fucking thing. And so as a joke, Araki put a heterosexual film by Gregg Araki in the opening credits. This film is certainly not a heterosexual film by any stretch.
No.
I mean, there is more heterosexual sex in it than there is in a lot of his other stuff, but it's still pretty fucking gay.
I love it.
Yeah. So.
I saw that for The Living End. In the beginning, it says an irresponsible film by Gregg Araki, and Totally Fucked Up says another homo movie by Gregg Araki. So I think that's great. I think he's really cool, but one of my favorite things about this movie, and most of the things that I wrote down while we were watching it, were all the things that Rose McGowan says.
Yeah.
Which, of course, she has the first line of the film, which is fuck. And then I think the next thing I wrote down is...
Eat shit and die, motherfucker.
Yeah. Anus face, eat my fuck.
Eat my fuck. That's the one. I that's what I always thought that was the funniest when I was a kid. Eat my fuck.
Yeah, she's so incredibly harsh. Like,
she looks amazing.
She does look amazing in this movie. This is like the hottest that Rose McGowan, and she's pretty attractive and everything. But man,
oh my gosh,
maybe it's just because I'm only attracted to women that look like they punch me, but not lovingly either.
Oh gosh, how do you even break this down? How do you even break this down? Do you guys have like favorite moments?
I mean, we've kind of already established it's like a good version of Natural Born Killers. It's a road movie about three people who get embroiled in murder, and it kind of follows this sequential order where, it starts with the murder at the Quickie Mart. Where they first meet Xavier, right? And he just referred to him as X. It's like the dumbest fucking name.
No, but it's cool because it's the 90s.
Well, and it's funny because James Duvall said that he couldn't pronounce Xavier, so he just wants to call him X because it's too difficult to pronounce it.
Yeah.
With his... I mean, let's say, the best Keanu Reeves impression. The whole time, that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's doing
so
a late
cute.
80s, early 90s Keanu impression.
Sure. But yeah, they go into that Quickie Mart, and I mean, I started noting down like what all of the signs said. This Quickie Mart was like, shoplifters will be executed.
How much were the hot dogs? It was like three hot dogs for $3.
Well, everything added up to $6.66.
Yeah.
$6.66, which to me, honestly, in the times that we're living in now, that's a fucking dream.
For real.
Like, I'll fucking take that. Like, the amount of shit she buys in that other Quickie Mart at one point, and I'm like...
she got like 3 packs of cigarettes, 3 hot dogs, like
$6 fucking bucks.
Yeah. And then there's other times where they don't get a lot, and it's still $6.66.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oof.
Like all the drive-through fast food that they got, so much.
Yeah.
I want that.
Yeah. That's it. That was the funny thing throughout the movie is that everyone thinks Rose McGowan is somebody else.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole film.
Do you think that that's the case, or do you think that
that's just her?
I just think it's her. And I think that she doesn't want to admit that she's kind of a slut who's fucking everybody.
I did think that.
That's what I think.
I did think that.
And I mean,
I
think it's great.
I do like the idea that she has this like hidden secret past that she's been traveling across America.
Yeah.
Jilted lovers, let's put it this way.
And they go to that fast food restaurant, and the guys...
Carno Burger.
Carno burger, that's what it's called?
Carno burger, yeah. Well, I wrote it down as carnal burger, as in like carnal pleasures, but it's not. It's carno. It's carno burger.
Carno.
Carno burger.
That's good.
Which I think is great.
Every time this happens, the jilted lovers are so upset that they vow to kill her.
Yeah.
To find her and kill her. So it's really all her fault.
Yeah.
Well, it's no, that's not true, because the initial entire situation in the Quickie Mart was Xavier's doing.
Oh, right, yeah.
That part is amazing.
I love that
I don't want to
part.
skip over the fact that a man's entire head gets blown off and it moves
Yes.
and like blinks.
Well, it
and
moves
it throws up.
Yeah, like food falls out. It like chewed up.
It falls into what is effectively like the dips and relish stand at the Quickie Mart, and he spits out guacamole out of its mouth as he's trying to talk. And I'm like, fuck yes.
It's
so
good.
fucking cool.
So
But this
good.
is the triggering moment of the movie, though, right? Because effectively we're introduced to Amy and Jordan at the drive-in movie theater. There's Slow Dive on the radio. They're like, fuck this place. We're gonna fucking go somewhere else. They go to the Quickie Mart, and they pick up a hitchhiker, right? Because
before they get there.
Yeah, because he's fighting with a bunch of folk on the side of the road, right? There's all sorts of shit. Like, he's getting chased down by some folk, and then he ends up becoming like this hitchhiker when they get to the Quickie Mart, and then obviously the shopkeep accidentally gets his head fucking blown off, and he's got a shotgun.
Yeah, it sets off
And so
the
begins
whole
this. Yeah, so begins
story.
this Bonnie and Clyde, or Bonnie and Two Clyde story of them traveling across the United States, and they just can't seem to stop injuring or murdering people as they go.
It's like almost 3 parts, right? There's like 3 situations that I remember as they go through. So they go to the Headless Horseman Hotel right after that dude's head gets blown off.
Yeah.
And this is a spot that I want to talk about. I want to talk about this red hotel that they go to, the very first one, where Rose McGowan goes and takes a bath, and what's the boyfriend's name again?
Jordan.
Yeah. Comes in to pee, and then they start doing it in the bathtub.
Yes.
So that's another scene where I was 100% expecting to see a penis. Right? Because she's in the bathtub, totally naked. He goes in to pee, and she keeps looking at him.
Yeah.
Like, it's eye level to her. She keeps looking over while he's peeing, and he's looking at her. And then this is where I definitely feel there's like a missed opportunity when he gets into the bath and stuff, and they start having sex.
Well, the only reason we say that is because he bends down, and I mean, if they were trying to hide everything, they just obviously didn't do a very good job, because one of his balls ends up being tucked in behind his thighs.
You see his scrotum.
You see his nutsack, and it's he slips into that bathtub. It's
and then he slams his face on the side of the bathtub, doesn't he?
Oh fuck yeah, and he fucking busts his nose open. No, I think Here's the thing. Like, every single moment in the movie, let's say every big moment of the movie, is permeated by either Jordan and Amy having sex, Xavier and Amy having sex, or Jordan, Amy, and Xavier having sex together. So it goes through this patternous feeling within the narrative that eventually you kind of do feel like you expect to see something other than what you eventually get in the film. But the fact that we see this ball sack, it is literally the only kind of pronounced moment of male nudity in the film, other than obviously X telling us how cool his tattoo is on his chest. Which also, I think, personally, looks fucking terrible.
The worst.
It looks terrible.
It's really bad.
It looks like a Godsmack record cover.
It does, yeah. It looks like like a Breaking Benjamin album cover or something. Yeah, it just looks fucking horrific. But you know, he's of a time. Let's say he's also got like nipple rings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Well, I don't know. He gets his jollies off. This is the first time we see it, and he fucking starts masturbating, which again is another.
Oh, Xavier, yeah.
Yeah.
Watching
and
that.
has a snack.
He does.
Dude. He does.
He does. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, do you think he's going to come in his own hand and then lick it?
He has a lot of confidence
He
in
sure
in
does.
his own diet that he's able to give it a little lick afterwards.
Do you think he does it every time?
I can only assume yes if he does it the first time, because we don't see him do it again.
It's definitely not the first time he's done it.
No, I bet he's looked at it on his fingers and he thought,
Maybe that's how he knows, what to change in his diet.
That's fair. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think he's being, if anything, he's being altruistic.
Yeah, he's being very
Yeah.
conscious of his body.
Yeah.
And so he knows,
What do I need to do for next time there's another person's mouth involved here?
Yeah, less dairy,
Yeah, more pineapple juice.
more pineapple, less red meat.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Definitely. So
Unless
he knows.
he's like pulling
Yeah.
an April Fool's gag.
Oh.
Oh dear. God.
I've eaten nothing but Burger King for the last 6 days.
Oh. That's when it's gritty and thick.
I'm making my own secret sauce. Wet. Yeah.
Granular.
Yeah. Oh God.
Jism extra gritty.
Yeah. So
Did you guys catch the shopkeeper's name, by the way?
I don't think so.
it's not something Wang or Dong, isn't it?
It's When Cock Sucks.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
I did notice that.
Right,
yeah.
got you. Yeah.
Then you find out that the shopkeeper's wife, after he got his head shot off, kills her kids and then disembowels them.
It's another fantastic moment of satire in the movie. Because really,
Hilarious.
I mean, it's
I don't know
honestly,
why it shouldn't be maybe hilarious.
the whole film.
but
I
it
mean, the whole film
definitely is.
needs a big blinking red light above it that just says satire on it for every moment that's in the movie.
That character's, the wife is played by Margaret Cho.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know this for certain. I haven't read this, but it seems to me that it's a pretty obvious take on the Korean American shop owners in LA just a few years prior, when there was a lot of civil unrest because they were fucking shooting black kids. There was that was a serious thing in LA. So I feel like that probably was a commentary on that to a certain degree. He got taken a task over that as being racist, but he's like, I don't know. I can't help but think that it was on purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that he can get away with it being Japanese himself. He can, being part of the Asian American community. I imagine he has more of a right to comment on that shit than, I do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I mean, you do feel like there's a deliberate sense to it, because it's, not to kind of obviously throw natural born killers under the bus again. That film I always felt was a little sensationalist. Like it kind of just takes it a little bit too far, as opposed to, like, say, the other side of it being like Taxi Driver being inspired by, the glamorization of like assassinators of celebrities and that sort of idea. So, like it feels a little bit more subtle and a little bit more intelligent in that respect, what it's trying to do here. But also, like, the film itself, like the Doom Generation, the film itself, it's got this incredible hyper-realistic look and feel about it. And it reminds me a lot of, like, early Takeshi Miike, like his sort of stuff, where it's like, it's not quite real, it's not quite fake, it's kind of somewhere in between where it's a little bit of a nightmare, and that's something that I quite adore this for. I mean, there's also the midget from Don't Look Now with a shopping trolley that makes an appearance as well. So.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just start fucking pointing at the TV screen.
There is that really. Oh, hold on. Before I even talk about Parker Posey, but when the guy from the restaurant comes back to kill Amy.
Yeah.
And then it's where the next crime occurs, where he gets the guy from the restaurant gets his arm blown off, and then Xavier takes his arm
and hits him with it.
Hits him with
it.
It's it's fucking barmy. But the thing is, I mean, who does predominantly the killing in the movie? It's Xavier, right? I don't think anybody else does any killing.
Well, there's the dog.
There is the dog, but he kills the dog.
Yeah, she hits it, but he's the one who takes a pocket knife or something to it, right?
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
So
they don't show it, but you can
hear it. You can hear it.
Yeah,
you certainly can hear it.
I was not happy.
I can't wait to watch that in a theater with everybody. Of all the fucked up shit in this movie, that's going to be the thing that you're going to feel the oxygen leave the theater.
Yeah.
That fucking dog.
The dog is really cute too.
I mean, I mean, here's the thing as well. Like, I mean, it's obvious. You know, the dog hasn't been hit by the car. The dog is being a very good boy and lying down.
Yeah, he's an actor.
And covered in it. Yeah, he's just acting. Like, there's nothing.
I don't know if they had to use real semen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
they really stabbed that dog to death.
No,
it's off camera. They didn't kill it. It's fine. They just dropped it off at a vet's office and drove away.
Oh my god! Guys.
I'm pretty sure that no dogs were harmed in the making of this picture.
Spots bleeding out. Like, yeah.
Oh no.
Speaking of bleeding out, do you remember when that guy got a sword put in his dick?
The dog wouldn't have been called Spot either.
Yeah,
it would have been called like Striker, or Canine.
Canine?
Yeah, Canine. Like the tooth.
Are you trying to do another Wolverine thing?
Like the Jim Belushi movie?
Why am I gonna do? Yeah, like Canine. I love that movie.
That movie's terrible.
That movie's great, and there's like 3 of them.
Are there?
Yeah.
Which movie?
What?
I missed this.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 Canine movies. Yeah, I think so.
Jim Belushi bullshit.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Terrible.
Yeah. No, I don't. I tend not to watch movies that have dogs on the cover.
Turner and Hooch.
Like Turner and Hooch.
I'm a real
bad too.
I think I had to leave the room.
I don't know what it is about this room. It's got an awfully frosty in here.
Hooch gets shot in that
one.
Fucking
yeah,
Hooch
I know,
dies
and I left the room and I
Hooch,
cried.
Yeah.
He lives.
No, he doesn't.
No?
No, his puppy lives.
Oh, I haven't seen it since I was fucking 8.
No. Well, spoiler alert, he gets fucking shot.
I remember him getting shot.
Fish market. Yeah, and then he dies, and then Tom Hanks cries. So,
I mean, I kind of like the idea of seeing Tom Hanks cry.
I mean, it's fucking
That's
I
funny.
can see him cry in almost anything.
It's fucking heartbreaking.
I want to see him cry over a dog dying.
Well,
that's good. I like the kindest person in Hollywood crying over a dog is somehow just makes me feel good.
That's why he would cry.
I mean, Turner and Hooch can be watched uncut on Disney Plus. You see the bullets go into that dog flesh.
Jesus,
it's weird.
I remember the blood coming out because it looked purple, and that was like as a kid, I was used to like Giallo blood or something. I don't know, and.
It's like they did like it's obviously a close up, and they kind of just have like a mock up of what the front of the dog would be, and they just shoot into whatever that mock up is as he's coming down from the rafters, and then obviously attacks the. But that was something I don't remember seeing when I saw the movie as a kid, because I loved the movie when I was a kid.
You would just watch it on TV,
and
probably?
then we watched it on TV normally, and then when you watch it the way that it is and it was in the cinema, I was like, holy fucking Christ.
So it's just like a dog-shaped bag filled with blood is what they
It looks
used?
like it, because it's obviously a close-up, and then they just shoot. You can see the bullets going into his chest.
Yeah, I kind of remember that.
And I'm like, fuck. Like,
I think
I'm
that's
just
when I was
not
in
a
the
fan.
bathroom.
It's not as bad as the dog shooting in Tony Scott's Revenge movie.
Oh my god!
And that is like they shot a dog with like I think a can of soup, and it looks horrifically.
I think I screamed.
Realistic.
Huh. I'm into that.
The dog is obviously fucking terrified. Well, if someone shoots the poor dog with a fucking shotgun, it's obviously shot him with like a bag of like red paint or soup or something.
Yeah, they shot the dog with something.
They shot the dog
like
with something, like an impact thing. Yeah, and it was
hate that
horrific.
Movie.
Well, the movie's not very good. Tarantino said it was like Tony Scott's masterpiece. He's a liar.
I remember picking that up at a thrift store and it was brand new, and I sent you a picture. You go, buy that right now.
It's also a film that I'll remember till the end of time, because there was a pub quiz question about the filmography of Tony Scott, and I think I got almost everything apart from Revenge was the only film that I never had, but it's because I'd never fucking seen it or even heard of it. Kevin Costner.
I remember the video cover very, very vividly, but I never saw it.
We have the director's cut on
Perfect
Blu-ray.
Yeah, I want to borrow that.
Yeah, it's something. It's definitely something.
I'll have a double feature of that and The Fan.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
I will say The Fan is better. The Fan is better than Revenge.
Okay.
So if that's any gauge of the quality, there you go.
It's not.
What The Fan and Revenge don't have is a sword and pool cue fight in a tinfoil bar while Mortal Kombat is playing in the background.
The tinfoil bar, like that, it feels so low budget. I loved it. Like that was the only scene in it that, like, oh, there are the student film roots. Like you can really tell.
Yeah.
Like they were like, how can we make this interesting? Cover everything in tinfoil. Like it's so silly.
Yeah.
I like it.
Parker Posey's incredible wig.
Yeah. Parker Posey's always incredible, though.
Yeah.
I can't think of a single... even movies I don't like that she's in, she's good in them.
I'm a big fan of hers. And then I was saying before that guy gets stabbed in the dick with a big sword.
Yeah.
Which is pretty great.
I like that.
Yeah. Accidentally, would say. It was an accident. He gets stabbed in the dick.
I wrote down a little bit of what Gregg Araki said about the different rooms, because you've got like that red hotel room and then you've got that checkered hotel room. Mm-hmm. And he said, like, we did the red room first and then we're like, well, what are we going to do in the second room? And I guess the set designer, Therese, had a postcard on her desk and it was all checkered and he was like, well, how about that? And then she like literally hand painted the whole room to
wild.
look like a postcard that she had on her desk. So, yeah, that checkered room was insane looking.
Yeah, it looks cool. It kind of reminds me of like, what was that Matt Groening book? It was, it's like the Welcome to Hell or something like that. It's like the rabbit character that Matt Groening did. He did a lot of drawings that had like checkerboard floors and stuff in it. I can't remember what it was called. It might be called Welcome to Hell. I'm not too sure.
I'm just realizing, and I didn't connect this until just now, that this is the third movie in a row that has like voyeuristic elements in it. Like, because Jordan also stands outside the window of that checkered room and watches Amy and X have sex, and he's also masturbating.
X also
and
watches
X
Jordan
watches
and
them
Amy.
have sex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So wow, what a theme.
What
a little theme we have going. Three films I never thought we would talk about in conjunction with each other, which are Red Road, The Voyeurs, and The Doom Generation. Very strange.
It was completely... Well, the reason we did Red Road is that that's a good movie about the voyeurism, as opposed to The Voyeurs, which is kind of just this cheap, tacky thing. Which is kind of just a bit crap. And then we didn't mention in the previous episode, we think has been doctored. To have less in it than it does. So, that was your accusation.
Yes, that is true. I feel like we're quickly getting to the end of this film.
I mean, it's not a long film, which is lovely. It's very respectful of your time.
I do like that.
But they're watching each other. We have to bring up his hologram belt buckle that he gets. I think it's fucking
so good.
Phenomenal. Yeah, it's so fucking good.
Yeah, it's cowboy riding a steer, right?
Yep. And it just moves up and down. I mean, it's like you could just watch it forever.
The sexual tension between those two gentlemen from the very start of the movie all the way through is really cute.
Yeah.
I really liked their relationship. And he's fiddling with his little belt buckle.
Yeah.
You just see all this hair, and I'm like, he's really just...
Yeah.
Really comfortable with each other.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it all culminates. All of this watching, all of this individual having sex with Rose McGowan stuff kind of going on. It all culminates into...
probably feels so sore. I said it at the end when we were watching this movie. She has sex so much in this film that she has to be in so much pain.
That's probably why she's so grumpy.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah, maybe that's the reason why. Because she's got some of the best lines in the fucking film, like hands down. I did like, hold on, because I was going to talk about like the light yo-yo and stuff like that before they get to the warehouse where there's just a mattress on the floor that they use.
Yeah.
I did like when he picks up the light yo-yo, there's also a sign in there that says, "We don't call 911." Which I thought was great. But they end up having a threesome in a warehouse that's all kind of colored red and stuff. And obviously just before this moment, because this is also, we'd probably kind of refer to this as also like another one of these scenes where you're like, well, why does that happen? They go to the record store and Amy ends up getting recognized by somebody else. And we find out that these guys are characterized as Nazis, white supremacists, and they jump them in the warehouse. And in what can probably only be described as a scene of horrifying sights. Things that they come bursting in, like the Red Hot Chili Peppers wearing cock socks.
That's in a full wide. And he just rocks up with a tube sock over his dick and balls.
Pubes out.
And
That's the most pubic hair we see in the whole movie.
Yeah.
So bushy, yeah.
I mean...
It was mind-boggling.
We don't get any of the three that we want to see.
Yeah.
I know.
Straight swastika painted on his chest.
Yeah.
It's so incredibly... Like, a lot happens in this movie. You got heads getting blown off. You've got cummy fingers. There's so much sex. There's so much violence. And it's incredibly funny.
Yeah.
And then you get, and that's for 70 minutes of this film. And you're just having a nice time for the most part, and you're enjoying yourself. And then it turns into a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
That really sticks with you, like strobe lights.
Yeah.
Like in this red light, everyone's screaming, like, oh.
They rape Amy.
They sure do.
And then he's gonna force the Mother Mary into her.
Yeah, I like that.
And I'm like, okay. And
because we were arguing about it, Ryan, when we were watching it, and he's like, she didn't get raped. I'm like, she fully got raped.
Oh yeah, she definitely got raped.
Fully got raped.
It's also
she didn't get raped with the Mary, but
no.
It's also no. He threatens her with the Mother Mary statue that he's gonna insert in her. It's all stroby as well.
Yeah.
It's all very stroby, stuff going very loud. And then he takes a pair of shears, this Nazi boy, and
it's like big gardening shears. And he said, I remember I wrote down, he goes, "Kiss your puny, worthless cock goodbye."
Yeah. It's he cuts Jordan's dick off.
Yeah.
Because where's Xavier at this point? Where is he? Is he knocked out or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think.
Right.
Was he tied up, or he just got punched out, or something?
Something. I'm not sure. I think that he.
Yeah. These were the same guys they were arguing with in the record store. So yeah.
Just saying horrible things, like like they're doing it because they're gay. Because they were all like they came in while. Wait a minute. No, they were all having the threesome, and then she went out to pee in the middle of it. And then that's where they grabbed her and tied her up.
Yeah.
And then came in. Oh, it was horrible.
Yeah. And while they're dealing with Jordan, I think Amy gets loose, and then she murders one of the Nazis who raped her. And I think it's Amy and Xavier in the car. It's kind of relatively quite quiet.
Yeah. Wow. That's a way to describe it.
I guess so. I mean, you're kind of shell shocked by the end of the movie. It is pretty intense because I think, I do think that final scene. It's purposely intense for what it is. It's also visually intense for what you're fucking watching. And it also mirrors the very beginning of the movie when they're in a club as well. So that those sequences kind of look very similar energy-wise. So I do like that they kind of mirror, the beginning and the end of the movie with this kind of, very similarly visually kind of energized sequences. But I didn't write down the final line of the movie, but it does kind of end pretty much with like he's eating nachos or something, and then that's kind of really about it.
What's funny is 2 movies ago for Uncomfortable Brunch, we showed Man Bites Dog. And I think that there are some similarities tonally where the first, I won't even say 2/3, I'm going to say like 80% of the movie.
Yeah.
It's all very dark, but it's funny.
Yeah.
And I think that both Doom Generation and Man Bites Dog have this turn that it does not ease you into, which force you that you're still kind of in the mode of laughing at wildly inappropriate things. So you find yourself kind of laughing to yourself, being like, "Oh fuck, this is not okay."
Yeah.
Like, and it's not funny, but that's what makes it funny. I think, anyway.
Reality,
I think that's a really good tool for really, doing a bait and switch on your audience.
Yeah.
Subverting a certain amount of expectations that you've created for the first, huge amount of this film.
Yeah.
And then basically turning it on its side and saying, no, fuck you. Like this, you're going to feel like shit.
Reality bites hard.
I find it impressive that I still like this movie because it has 2 of the things that I cannot abide in a film. And, we're mentioning streaming services earlier.
Is it gay people?
Yeah.
Is that one of them?
There's 2 gay people in this movie, and I can't deal.
And is it the Koreans?
So... you pick a streaming...
right, she murdered her children in a ritualistic killing.
Anyway,
if it met them all.
Yeah.
If it says rape,
At least they got that right.
will turn it off. Like, I just won't.
You will switch off, yeah.
I'm like, nah.
Well, you were watching a Jennifer Jason Leigh movie last night that had
Steve Buscemi comes in trying to do a rape, and I'm like, I did not sign up for this.
Well, it's not that he tries to do a rape; he does do a rape.
It's called Heart of Midnight.
I want to see Steve Buscemi rape Jennifer Jason Leigh.
I think it's on Tubi.
Cool. Is it hot?
No.
No.
I always bring up how you call Tubi the Wild West of streaming services, and it is so close to my heart. Like, I watch everything on Tubi, and I feel incredibly special when I log a movie that I watched on Tubi that only 400 people logged on Letterboxd.
It's the best way to be able to watch really obscure horror movies or like a fucking Christian movie.
Yeah.
That's where they all went. I love it.
It's such a weird service, and it's free, and I love it. I watch all the weird
commercials
shit on there.
make no sense. Commercial placement.
Yeah.
In the middle of a fucking scene.
Yeah.
That's great. I
love it.
Tubi's the place I go to watch my 80s and 90s anime movies. That were all kind of super fucked up. Yeah. So that's where I usually kind of go for that piece. But then, there is some weird stuff on there. I mean, people are spoiled now. You couldn't find this stuff in a fucking video shop.
The cover of Heart of Midnight is incredible, which made me want to watch it. But I have a lot of weird stuff on my watch list. But yeah, I think I got up, I was just furious. I'm like, I did not sign up for a rape here. And this one comes at you really hard. And like you were saying, it's just like a big fuck you. But
there's a big tonal shift,
left this after a dog murder, a vicious dog murder.
It was a dog euthanizing.
Yes.
It was not a... It
well,
was
the dog,
not first-degree murder.
Well,
no.
I don't know. It didn't feel good. I didn't like it. And I didn't like that he put in the dog's squeal at the end, when he gets murdered. I thought that was uncool.
Yeah.
And then a rape, and I go, God damn it. But I still I still love this movie.
I'm just saying the movie gave me plenty of opportunity to know what my semen tastes like.
Yeah. I found out that the guys...
Because I was jerking off to all the horrible things.
Good to know. Gregg Araki said that the best reviews he got were the ones where people got horny from watching this film. So there you go.
Yeah, well, that was all that he did. He did specifically letterbox reviews. We watched a video of that, and even he's looking at some of those and going, "All right, well, you're kind of fucking weird, aren't you?" It's like this current generation watching the Doom generation.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. That's
which
funny.
Is like
talking about a wild difference in only 30 years.
Yeah, and it's just like okay.
Yeah, the sensibilities of what would be the key demographic for that movie if it came out today. Yeah, it's wild.
It's strange. It's a strange thing. But certainly I think it's also like a toxification of like what the internet has done to people in general, is that they feel like their opinions are worth something.
Yeah, and they're not.
And they're really not. They're really not worth fuck all. But certainly none of them are feeling the level of probably hardship either that Gregg Araki's probably faced in his time dealing with his, just dealing with the society that he's grown up in. So
yeah,
very different times, and it's kind of like, you don't know how good you've got it. Let's be fair,
right?
But yes.
The Nazi guys at the end worked in gay porn.
Of course he did.
Oh, in real life?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. That must have been interesting for them.
I guess. I mean, it's it's shocking. It's just, it's like, it's like it's a bombardment, And now, obviously, I don't know about anybody else, but like I wince every time I see a swastika. So,
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like,
I mean, that makes sense.
Fuck. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like if I see that, I'm like, I know I'm in for a bad time.
I mean, I saw a meme on the internet today, and it said like, "What's one thing that you knew growing up that you wish would like come back?" And it was like Nazis being bad.
Inherent belief that Nazis are bad.
Yeah. I'm like, that sounds about right.
Yeah, well.
Well, they are, and they always have been.
I mean, you learn something about your history.
What was the Sarah Silverman bit? It's like, oh, but they're cute when they're little. Nazis. I will give you that. When they're babies, they're adorable.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So I wrote down a couple things that Gregg Araki said. So he said that a lot of people have come up to him and said that his movies made them gay because it unlocks a thing they've never acknowledged or had access to before.
Okay.
And he also said that his movies are for outsiders and the weirdos and the punks and the queers. They're for the people that don't really fit in. I think that's why the films have resonated all these years.
If that movie makes you gay, it makes you violently gay.
Yeah.
I would say. Like, it didn't make me gay. I kind of wish it had. That would be a story.
That'd be cool, right?
Yeah, like I saw Doom Generation, and now I'm like
super gay.
So much dick.
No, it's like I can't get enough.
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's been 28 years. Like it just won't won't stop. I was 10 years old when I saw this movie.
Yeah.
That's not true. I was too young when I saw it, though, for sure. That's gross when I think about that.
Yeah.
I was like 12 or 13. That is way too young.
Yeah.
Do you remember how you got a hold of it, or how?
An older friend had the video cassette.
Okay.
So, yeah, I can't remember specifically how I got a hold of it. And I don't know, it must not have been the uncut. I don't know. Was there a VHS, the uncut version? I can't really remember. I just remember that my buddy John Tucker had a copy of it. And so
it's interesting how you get into that kind of thing when you're younger, and the movies that you end up seeing. And I know that I had a full access Blockbuster card when I was younger, so I could rent anything, because I like to watch horror movies a lot when I was young. So I would go through almost alphabetically and pick out just every horror movie I hadn't seen. So I probably watched a lot of.
Well, that's how I was able to watch The Evil Dead and Hellraiser before I was maybe 12.
Because my older brother was the one who introduced me to a lot.
It was like friends, older brothers.
I was doing it solo, so I was going off of like reading, movie coffee table books and like what's important and what should I see and blah blah blah. And really, it was that when American Film Institute released their top 100 movies of all time for the first time, that's how I got my mother to switch over my Hollywood video card to be able to rent rated R movies.
That's cool.
Because I told her, I printed it out and said, I want to see everything on this list, most of it was fine, but should I be watching Clockwork Orange when I was 12? Maybe not.
I watched that when I was like 14 or so as well, and no one got mad about that one.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
I don't know how.
Chasing Amy, though.
Yeah. I do, so that kind of stuff. And then, like you were talking about earlier, the library.
Yeah.
They have everything, and they didn't check my ID. Like, that's how I watched Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
Oh, yeah.
And movies like that because I had read somewhere about Steven Soderbergh. So you just kind of, because I was an only child, I kind of had to do it on my own. And I luckily had family and parents that were, if they weren't supportive, they at least turned a blind eye.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, my parents always kind of struggled with me in terms of how to handle me.
Yeah.
Because of that thing, like they would try to take away my privileges, but then I would find a way around it because I would be insufferable. I was already insufferable, but I was even worse if I didn't have movies.
I was lucky too in the sense that I realized early on that causing problems did nothing to benefit me. So I was actually hardly ever being reprimanded because I kept relatively good grades. I didn't mouth off, and not because I had some great respect for my parents, which I do, but not really, not when you're 13. It was because I knew I could get ahead by being good in their eyes, and they just didn't give me a hard time.
I wasn't a bad kid. I'm just saying that they were finding out things I was watching, and they didn't think that it was appropriate.
Also, my father always had a rule in the house that he was like, I don't care, you can watch literally anything as long as you watch it with an adult, which is actually worse in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But that was a kind of just a understood rule in the house that there really wasn't a whole lot that was off limits. And I mean, now I basically show pornography some of the time. My dad has come to it. Has been at the events when I've showed movies with unsimulated sex acts.
Right.
I'm never cutting that out.
Never mind. Yeah, originally Rose McGowan's character was supposed to be played by Diane Ladd, but her mom Cheryl stepped in and said absolutely not. Which I guess one of her biggest issues was the nudity in it, which is funny for two reasons. One, because it's like we discussed earlier, it's not especially graphic, or for sort of, but also she ended up doing a nude scene just a few years later for Broken Lizard, Club Dread.
Oh my god.
So, like, how you're willing to do a nude scene for those assholes, but not Gregg Araki? I don't know. I mean, I love Club Dread.
I know.
I'm a big fan, but...
Same.
Penelope? That's the character's name, right?
Super Troopers has a dick in it.
Yeah, it does.
Fuck yeah.
Little guy. I like it.
When's Super Troopers 2 coming out?
It came out.
It's already out?
Ages
that's
ago.
like years ago.
Oh, right, okay. Apologies.
It's not bad.
It's funny, yeah.
Yeah. Since this is a little bit different than what we've done before, and we're trying out a new thing, obviously we can't rate a penis, because if we did, it would be 0, because there isn't any. So I want to go around and kind of discuss a little bit about whether you guys think this film would have benefited from full frontal male nudity, or if you think it would have caused a detriment, are we happy that it didn't have any? Do you think it would have added to the film? Do you think that it's just perfect?
Because also
the way that it is.
Bear in mind, the film shows an awful lot. It just doesn't go far enough.
Because I also wouldn't say that there's necessarily more. I mean, there's definitely more female nudity, but not really. It's not like a gross amount. I don't think.
I wouldn't.
I think it's fairly balanced, but it's just not.
I wouldn't call it male gazy either.
No.
It's it's there, but
yeah,
I would say I'd say the gaze is that's a weird. The gaze is
gay
kind
gaze?
of it's got a real kind of homosexual gaze about it. Certainly when you look at some of the shots of like Xavier and Jordan, the things that kind of go through it, you're like,
I mean, any nudity from her almost seems just circumstantial. Like, well, she's naked in the shot, and we're not shooting around it.
Yeah,
but they're not shooting her tits exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it never felt exploitative. It usually felt pretty neutral throughout the film. But I do think, for me, just being the person that I am that loves to see a penis on screen, I did feel a lack of it. There's a few times where I thought that I would have expected it, and I don't think it would have taken away from anything, and I don't think it would have been shocking or taken you out. I think it would have just, because of how wild the film is, I don't think that it would have pushed anything over the edge. because the film is already, pushing a lot of boundaries as it is. So I don't think that it would have taken away anything. I don't necessarily think it would have added anything really either.
I don't personally think that if it was in there, we wouldn't even be talking about. I mean, well, we would be, because that's the nature of this, what we're recording. But I don't think that if there was no podcast, that we would even really discuss that. It almost feels unnatural to me that that there aren't any penis shots in it.
Yeah.
Now, that said, I don't think it necessarily would have been improved by it.
Right.
It's fine, I agree. So, but it feels odd to me that it's not there.
Yeah.
So,
I agree, because it would have been the least of the wild things that happen in this movie.
Yeah.
The fact that there was a penis. I think, I don't know what the choice was for the Nazi guy at the end to have a sock on his penis, which was funny.
I think it's already, that shot just as itself, I think it's pretty like, it's like an oh fuck moment.
It would have been horrifying.
It would
have been horrifying if that was the only dick we saw in the movie, is when he busts in the warehouse and he's just his dick's out and he's ready to rape.
I do like the fact that he's the character himself, is like they're so anti-gay and they're so kind of homophobic that they're covering up their dicks from the sight of these supposed these gay dudes in this warehouse. So they're using socks. So it is kind of like this like seemingly kind of desperation move on their part. And it makes them look a little silly, which is kind of, I would rather see a lampooning of the Nazis more often than the than not. So yeah, you shouldn't be liking them.
Well, there's also that whole part where Amy and Xavier are talking, and she's talking about his dick that has a tattoo of Jesus on it, right?
Yeah, why didn't they show that shit?
Why didn't they show a tattooed Jesus on that guy's penis?
Yes.
That probably that moment in particular, not the moment where Jordan's peeing in the bathroom, not even the cummy fingers, the Jesus on the dick. That was I think the most I felt like, where is it? You can't just describe it for that long. I'm like, I was totally expecting it. I'm like, maybe we were wrong this whole time. Maybe there is a penis in it. It's got a funny tattoo.
But then that makes me think like that's where they decide they want to draw a certain line, Like they just
everything else is fine.
Everything else is okay. It's just, hold on, we can't show the Jesus tattoo on a dick. Like that just will not fly.
Because it makes me wonder, like, where is it exactly?
It would be shown today, I think. I think that if that movie were independently produced today, there would be no question.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree necessarily, because I feel like we are going backwards and forwards at the same time. I feel like we are getting more male nudity, but a lot of times it's not even real. Yeah. So, yeah, maybe we'll get a fake dick with a fake tattoo on it, and that's... And maybe that's how we'll get it, but that doesn't satisfy the situation for me.
I mean, I would say that from 1995 to now, if you were going to show that moment, I mean, people have changed, attitudes have changed, people's sense of what intellectualism actually is, and certainly how content, and I use the word content because effectively that's what it is, because anyone can manufacture it now. How that stuff is made and what that consists of, like it's very different. So I would say, there's a lack of simple liberation in the Doom generation when it comes to the male fronted nudity, but then there is a certain reservation, and we've spoken about it, where I feel like the filmmakers themselves are. They're trying to be as reserved as they can because they're already crossing so many boundaries as it is. And I don't think it would change the film for the worse, and I don't know if it would change it for the better either. It would just be the last thing that you would probably ever speak about in the film that's full of a bunch of all other sorts of fucked up things. So to say that, like, a film made now would not have that. I mean, I think 100% it would, and they would ride their coattails on that singular moment.
Yeah, that
because
would
there
be...
are plenty of examples of films now that do that, where, I mean, I'll say, you know, a couple of examples. I think a Serbian film is one of those. I also think that Human Centipede Part 2 is also probably one of those, which really kind of ride on the controversy of their own making, but they're not necessarily quality products, if that makes any sense. You know, it's like controversy for controversy's sake. Except with this, I feel like obviously the Doom generation has a little bit more to say than just that, you know?
Yeah.
Right, but I think we're all kind of on the same page.
Oh, I don't think I'm saying anything groundbreaking. I mean, I think just overall we're all on the same page. It's like it's not like he's cutting around it. Like, he's making very deliberate choices, and certainly his shot choices and the way that he puts his scenes and things together, he's not cutting around the nudity like in other examples that we've discussed on this podcast.
I don't know if I agree with you, though. I don't know if I agree that he's not. I think that he is cutting away from it. I don't know if it's his choice.
I take that scene in the bathroom, though, where if it did happen to show, he would have left that in. It just didn't happen to show.
There's even a moment where Jordan, while I believe it's when they are looking for clothes, like in the thrift store, that Jordan's out kind of in the parking lot, and he's twirling around with like a kind of a blanket around him, and he's naked, but it's only from, it's like from above or like from his waist up. So there are also moments where people, like these men, are fully naked, and there are choices made to not show that.
I would agree, yeah.
So
I would agree.
There's several instances, and I go, okay, and I just don't know why. Like, it was that too far for, not for him, not for Gregg Araki, but was it too much for, you know, the producers, or when they're actually like putting this film together? Like, okay, we can get the head blown off, the disembowelment, totally fine, arms blown off, tits, balls, butts, no problem, rape, cool, dick's getting cut off, cool, but I don't want to see that dick.
Right.
Yeah. So that's where
I think you're right. The violence and the language being used in this film are perfectly okay. I feel like when it comes to the viewing audience, they'll go to a cinema kind of primarily for that stuff. But
right.
But again, I think that you're all right that it wouldn't have been a big deal.
No.
I think that whoever's decision it was to not have a dick in it, if it was a decision at all, I think was on the wrong path. Because that wouldn't have been an issue for this particular film.
Right.
So, I missed the dick.
No. I'm like, I don't really have an issue with the film for, say, like having, because, you know, we speak a lot about honesty on this podcast, and, you know, we've seen quite a lot of disingenuous moments in films, and those are the ones we tend to rate lower because we just don't get a real great sense that it has any sort of grasp on reality for the story that it's actually telling. But for this, like, I mean, it's hard to kind of argue if it's imbalanced because I don't feel like that's the way it is. And do I feel like it's not honest? Well, I kind of feel like it takes it to a certain degree, but then you're not. It just doesn't take it far enough. And you know what? It kind of stays in this kind of comfortable middle section kind of there. And I feel like it's very comfortable there when really on the kind of the fringes of the rest of the content that's in the movie and the rest of the storytelling that they're doing is obviously that's kind of what he's more focused on. And I don't think this will not be the last time that we talk about Gregg Araki on the podcast. This I felt like was just an interesting case study, kind of opening up the world of Gregg Araki's filmmaking for us, kind of moving forward. So
I just want to also bring up, there are like let's say, remember Cronenberg's Crash, right? And you remember that interview that they had, like when they had that press conference, and someone asked, why isn't there a dick? Like, why don't we see James Spader dick in this movie?
Yeah.
And he's like, they're talking about how it just doesn't work for the frames, right? It just doesn't work because penises are down here and everything else is up here.
Yeah.
And I
don't know. We saw a lot of Homegirl's fucking landing strip.
No, that's true.
So
yeah.
There's times where you can make that argument where it just doesn't work for a shot because the penis is down low and the boobies are up high.
Yeah.
But for this, not that anyone's making that argument. I never really saw anything with Gregg Araki saying, this is why I did this and this is why I didn't do that. But
no.
But I think that if someone did ask that question, that wouldn't really be an argument that could be made.
I feel like also, like, as a filmmaker, he's on, he's very much in his own niche. Like, he's on the fringes of the mainstream. He's got no interest in being in the mainstream. He can get away with doing exactly what he's been doing for God knows how many years at this point.
Yeah, so I don't feel like he almost has like a reputation that's like Robert Altman-esque, where not stylistically, but he comes in under budget, head of schedule, and because it's pretty low impact financially to just throw him some shekels and let him do his fucking weirdo shit.
Yeah,
and it gets a return because it was so cheap to produce.
But I just think he doesn't need to justify anything.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't need to kind of put himself out there as like, this is his proving ground. Like, effectively, the honesty comes from him as a storyteller and as a filmmaker, because he's very much stuck to his guns and he's very much stuck to exactly what he's good at doing. And I think that's perfectly fine. I think that's perfectly okay.
I think he's great.
Yeah.
And I also think this film is great. I'm just, you know where my loyalties lie.
Yes,
and my
I know.
Preferences.
But like, I think this is where, this podcast in particular, where it where we're not kind of fixated to the point where it is kind of gazy. It's kind of more of a case of just like, well, how far do you push the medium? Like, how far do you push these certain elements in the storytelling? And that's what I find kind of more interesting about it. So, I think as moving forward on this as a format, as an idea, I think it's gonna beg a lot of very interesting questions when we cover slightly more opaque moments in films moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. But before we wrap this up, we should give our ratings. I feel like we should still rate the film. We don't have a penis to rate, but
yes.
Josh, why don't you go first at 0 to 5?
4.5. Big fan of this movie. Like we've been discussing the last hour and a half. I mean, it takes all the things that I do like from Natural Born Killers and just makes it better. Less trite, less contrived. I don't know. Big fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Ryan?
I give it 5 stars because I think it does what it's doing very well. I like the way this film looks, and it does remind me a little bit, at least on surface kind of levels. It reminds me a little bit of like early Miike. It reminded me a lot of Ley Lines, his Black Society trilogy, like the cap of that trilogy film. It reminds me a lot of that story. The story's quite similar as well. And that'll be a film we'll cover on the mainline of podcasts as well.
Can't wait.
So,
I'm gonna, as I say, go to the docking station with Josh. 4.5. I'm surprised I rated it that high. I'm surprised I liked it so much, and I still like it. I would watch this movie many times. I can't wait to purchase it in this new 4K restoration. I think it's incredibly fun and incredibly fucked up and very funny. And I'm surprised that it has 2 of my no-nos, and I still came out of this enjoying it. And I think that is really telling for Gregg Araki and the story, that he can put shit I fucking hate in a movie and I still really like it.
Yeah, it's a movie that I have wanted to show for a very long time, and I'm really, really grateful to Strand Releasing for doing a decent restoration of it so it can actually be shown how it's supposed to be seen.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you're lucky enough to live in the Orlando, Maitland area, the film will be showing on Sunday, which I think is Sunday 3rd. This will come out on the Friday before.
September 3rd.
So you will be able to, if there's still tickets, be able to purchase a ticket and go see the movie at the Enzian in Maitland at noon on that Sunday.
For your Labor Day weekend.
You're going to love it.
Yeah.
It's going to be so much fun.
And you'll have a full day to recover for your long weekend of debauchery.
Yes.
So, Ryan, you were saying you didn't know what that last line of the film was?
I didn't know what it was.
About nachos. And so I have one question to ask you both before we finish this. Is, do you want a Dorito? There you go.
There you go. Perfect.
Well, coming to you from the Headless Horseman Hotel.
Oh, no, it shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be that.
Why?
Because this film was photographed on location in hell.
Coming to you on location from hell, I have been Laura.
I'm Josh.
Ryan.
And we'll see you at the movies.
Yeah, it was a healthy glaze. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it's certainly less upsetting than an unhealthy glaze.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
It's so watery.
Yeah.
This is full of grit.
Why
is it like a light yellow in consistency of cat
it's
litter?
It's fucking orange. Yeah. It came out all like gritty and shit. And you're just like dropping little pellets that come out of it, and it's like, oh, that's fucking nasty.
You ever wonder what happens when you ejaculate when you have really bad kidney stones?
Oof. Fucking shoots out of you, puts a hole in the wall.
It's awful. It does not feel good.
Is that happened to you?
No.
No, okay.
Like, oh, God.
Yeah, it's like...
We have to finish this.